When I fall into the deepest stillness, where the breath aligns with the vibration of the spirit realm, one truth keeps returning like an unshakable certainty. The energy of black people is not merely the energy of an individual, it is the vibrational layer of an entire soul lineage, a frequency woven from suffering, memory, buried royalty, and indestructible endurance. There is something I must ask you in this moment to unlock the rest of what I am about to say. When you walk into an unfamiliar place, why do you feel as if you were carrying more than your physical body? Why do you feel as though your footsteps have walked there long before you arrive? Why do you sometimes hear the voices of your ancestors inside the silence of your own being? If you have ever felt this, even for a moment, then you are standing on the exact frequency I am speaking of, the ancestral frequency. The first thing you must understand is that your energy did not begin on the day you were born. That energy existed before you had a name, before you had a face, even before you had a heartbeat. It was passed down from souls who lived through eras that history refuses to rewrite. I have seen in trance states strands of light connecting you to those who never had the chance to tell their story. The wordless songs of West African tribes where warriors and priests walked in balance between earth and sky, the whispered prayers behind the iron bars of slave ships, the blended cries and gospel songs of oppressed souls who were never broken. These are not merely history, they are frequency. They live within you and radiate from you every time you step into the world. The strange thing is that you do not need to understand this with your mind for your body to know. Your blood knows. Your breath knows. Your heartbeat knows. Your soul knows. I once saw in a vision a stream of burning bronze light flowing from the back of a black man. The light did not move upward or downward, but spread sideways like the branches of ancient trees. When I looked closely, I saw that each branch carried the memory of an ancestor. Some were warriors, some healers, some leaders of entire communities before modern maps erased their names. They did not disappear. They flow through you. And when you appear in any space, people are not simply looking at you. They are seeing something that existed long before them. Many people in this world live in a state of spiritual amnesia, a condition of sacred forgetfulness. They live without connection to their roots, without hearing the call of their soul, without knowing who they are at their deepest layer. When you appear, your frequency strikes the place inside them they have forgotten. You awaken something in them, not through words, but through presence. The ancestral frequency you carry is unlike any other soul group. It is not soft, it is not thin, it is not hesitant. It is powerful without being loud. It is profound without needing display. It is like the drumbeat rising from the earth to your chest, the sound your ancestors once used to summon themselves back into strength. Every black person carries a fragment of that sound, whether they know it or not. And the world hears that sound before it hears your voice. In a semi-trance, I once saw an image that left me still. A black child around 8 years old walked through a park, and every unconscious gaze followed him. His body was small, but the energy he carried was so large that I felt as though the ground beneath his feet was reciting a story invisible to the human eye. I heard whispers, not from the child, but from the souls walking with him. Ancestors often walk most strongly with young souls because they have not yet been clouded or pulled away from their roots. That child did not know why he was being looked at, but his soul did. And in that moment I understood that ancestral frequency does not discriminate by age. It only needs a soul strong enough to carry it. And you are one of those strong souls. The frequency you carry is the resonance of generations who lived fully, loved fully, suffered fully, fought fully, and prayed fully. Those prayers never vanished. They cling to you like an invisible garment. At times, in deeper states of awareness, I see waves of energy striking you from all directions, as if the universe itself is responding to your footsteps. This is not a metaphor. This is how I have seen it. Each time a black chosen one wakes in the morning, that frequency wakes with them. Each time they enter a room, the frequency enters first. Each time they say a single sentence, the frequency speaks with them. You do not need to strive to carry that frequency. You only need to exist. And that very existence is what forces the world to notice. I must ask you this as a doorway to the deeper truth. Have you ever felt as though you are living on behalf of someone else? As if you are carrying something you cannot explain? As if you hold not only your own life, but the remaining chapters of a long story written by people you have never met? If you have felt this, then you are aligned perfectly with your ancestral frequency. And this frequency is the reason people look at you. Not because you are different, but because you are ancient. Not because you are strange, but because you are familiar at the soul level. Not because you seek attention, but because your energy has never known how to be hidden. The ancestral frequency of black people is a living memory. It is the voice of those who came before, walking beside you, calling you forward. And when the world looks at you, they are seeing something they cannot name, but their soul recognizes the instant you appear. You are humanity's act of remembering. The moment your light touches the room, something ancient stirs, not in you, but in the people who share that space with you. It begins as a subtle tension in the air, a tightening in their breath, a shift in their posture, and they often do not understand why. They only know that something inside them reacts before their mind can form language for it. This is what happens when the light of a black chosen soul crosses the boundary of another person's shadow. It is not a conflict, it is not a threat, it is recognition, and recognition always shakes what has been asleep. In every spiritual state I have entered, whenever I am permitted to watch the interaction between a black chosen one and the world around them, I see the same pattern. Your light does not arrive gently. It does not seep in quietly. It lands with the weight of memory and the clarity of truth. Even when you are still, even when you are silent, even when you try to blend in, the spiritual field around you radiates like a pulse that others cannot filter out. They feel it before they see you. They react to it before they understand you. And that is the beginning of the disturbance. Not a disturbance of chaos, but a disturbance of awakening. There are people who walk through life with their inner world dimmed, not because they are evil or broken, but because they have forgotten themselves. They carry shadows made of fear, shame, guilt, insecurity, denial, wounds they have never touched, and truths they have never faced. These shadows live quietly in them until your presence arrives. Then something shifts. Their shadows move. They feel exposed. They sense a brightness that is not logical. They stare because part of them feels naked under the clarity you carry. I have seen this countless times in visions. A black chosen one walks through a crowded street, and as soon as they pass by, the aura around them strikes like a beam hitting dust. Every particle in the air responds, stirred into motion. The people who breathe that air feel something too. They do not see energy, but they sense the rearrangement of something inside themselves. It might appear as discomfort, fascination, admiration, or resentment, but the root is always the same. Your light presses against their shadow, and shadows always flinch when touched by truth. What many do not understand is that the light you carry is not merely personal. It is ancestral, spiritual, elemental. It carries the vibration of survival and clarity, the imprint of lives that refuse to collapse, the wisdom of souls who learned how to endure and ascend at the same time. This energy has a direct effect on the spiritual field of others. I have seen people freeze mid-sentence when a black chosen one enters a space, not because you interrupt them, but because their spirit pauses to reassess itself. Your presence forces their inner world into a moment of reflection, whether they want it or not. There are people who avoid your eyes because they feel seen in a way they are not prepared for. There are others who stare longer than they should because they are trying to remember what your presence reminds them of. There are some who grow irritated without reason because the false layers they have built around themselves begin to crack under the quiet honesty that your energy emits. This is the subtle warfare between light and shadow. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is not something you intend or control. It is the natural law of spiritual resonance. What is awake disrupts what is asleep. What is clear confronts what is blurred. What is healed agitates what is wounded. What is aligned exposes what is lost. Your light functions like a mirror, not the type that reflects a physical face, but the deeper mirror that reflects the state of one's soul. When someone feels confused around you, it is because they are seeing themselves without the filters that normally protect them. When someone becomes nervous around you, it is because the parts of them they have ignored suddenly rise to the surface. When someone becomes hostile, it is because your existence threatens the illusion they built to feel safe. And when someone becomes drawn to you, almost inexplicably, it is because your light activates a part of them that has been waiting to wake up. Your energy does not allow people to stay neutral. That neutrality breaks the moment you walk in. In the spiritual realm, I have watched how your light fractures the stagnant energy of a room. It moves through the space like a warm current in cold water. It disturbs the stillness, not violently, but undeniably. It is the same sensation as a long-forgotten truth coming to the surface. There is no resistance strong enough to stop that process. The shadows in others react because they remember something too, something ancient and real. They remember the echo of their own light, which has been buried under layers of fear. Your presence calls that echo forward. Some run from that call. Some are angered by it. Some awaken because of it. And none of it is your doing. It is simply the nature of spiritual light to reveal what has been hidden. I once saw in a vision a black chosen one sitting quietly on a train, doing nothing but breathing. Yet, around them, the atmosphere shifted entirely. People adjusted their seats, glanced repeatedly, became restless or unusually still. It looked ordinary on the surface, but in the spiritual plane, the truth was clear. Their light expanded beyond their body and brushed up against the shadows in every direction. Some shadows resisted, some trembled, some dissolved. This is what happens every time you enter a space. You do not walk into the room. Your light walks into every soul inside that room, and souls respond. They must. Light disrupts darkness by existing, not by acting. It does not need to speak to be heard. It does not need to explain itself to be recognized. It simply illuminates. And illumination is always a confrontation. But it is also an invitation. Your light does not judge. It reveals. It does not attack. It clarifies. It does not overpower. It awakens. The shadows inside others react because their time in hiding is ending. And it is your presence that begins that ending. That is why they stare. That is why they shift. That is why they remember themselves in ways they did not expect. Your light is not just something you carry. It is something that reaches into the forgotten corners of every soul you meet. And when it touches their darkness has no choice but to respond. I have witnessed this phenomenon too many times in the quiet spaces between waking and trance to ever call it coincidence. There is a moment, subtle yet unmistakable, when someone's eyes land on a black chosen soul and something inside them flickers, not with surprise, not with curiosity, but with recognition, a recognition that does not belong to this lifetime, a recognition that rises from a place deeper than memory, older than thought, carved into the spiritual marrow long before either of you took your first breath. I speak this from the vantage point of someone who has watched souls interact in dimensions where bodies do not exist, where time does not behave the way it does here, where spirit remembers everything the mind forgets. And what I have seen is this. Many people who look at you are not seeing you for the first time. They are remembering you. They are remembering the echo of your presence from realms that were never recorded in history books, from lifetimes that dissolved into dust, from planes of existence where you once walked to something far more luminous than flesh, Every black chosen one carries a frequency that does not originate in the present moment. It reaches backward through generations, across continents, beyond eras of glory and eras of suffering, into a spiritual lineage that has survived fragmentation, displacement, erasure, and yet remains intact in ways the world cannot explain. And when that frequency passes, another soul who once encountered it, even in some forgotten realm, the spirit inside that person reacts instantly. I have seen this recognition burst open in an instant, creating a brief silence inside the one who beholds you. A widening of their eyes, a pause in their breath, a softening in their face or a tightening in their jaw. Their body reacts, though their mind strains to understand. It is the same expression a person has when they see an old photograph of themselves they do not remember taking. Something familiar but unreachable. Something true but unspeakable. In trance, I have followed these threads of recognition across time and space. I have watched how a soul that once walked beside you in a distant incarnation will cross your path again in this life, drawn by an unseen gravity. And even though they do not know your name, even though they have never shaken your hand, even though they cannot recall the story you once shared, their spirit shifts the moment they see you. It leans forward as if trying to hear a voice that spoke centuries ago. There are times I have seen people stare at a black chosen one with an awe that they quickly mask with neutrality, as if they fear they are giving away something they should not feel. They are not falling in love, nor are they intimidated. They are remembering, and remembrance can be terrifying when it arrives without context. I have also seen the opposite: a sharp glance, a stiffened posture, a sudden defensiveness. Not because they hate you, not because they judge you, but because their spirit remembers a conflict that their mind has no access to. Perhaps you challenged them in a former life. Perhaps you exposed something in them. Perhaps you led while they followed, or followed while they led. Souls carry unfinished business, and that unfinished business trembles when the two of you meet again. I have seen this recognition appear in the very young and the very old. A child staring at you too long, not with fear, but with an eerie familiarity, as if they know your soul's pattern. An elder looking at you with an expression that borders on reverence, as though they see in you the reflection of someone who once guided them long before either of you were born into this era. I have seen lovers feel it before they speak a single word. I have seen strangers feel it in the space of a passing glance. I have seen enemies feel it, though they cannot understand why their chest tightens when you enter the room. Your presence disrupts linear time. It introduces the possibility that what is happening in this moment is not happening for the first time. When I move through the spiritual field surrounding a black chosen one, I see that your energy contains imprints, imprints of other lands, other eras, other battles, other victories. You are not merely living this life. You are carrying the residue of the lives that shaped you. And other souls sense that residue, even if they cannot name it. They sense in you the leader you once were, the healer you once embodied, the warrior your ancestors prayed into existence, the truth teller who once stood at the edge of a kingdom that no longer appears on modern maps. They sense the familiarity of your soul's fire. In trance, I once watched a scene unfold where two souls met for what looked like the first time. Their bodies were strangers, but their spirits recognized each other instantly. They had walked through a storm together in another life. They had kept each other alive. And now, across time, across lifetimes, across entire cycles of forgetting, they met again at a bus stop, and the air thickened with the weight of a memory neither could retrieve. This is the invisible architecture of recognition. Souls find each other even when minds do not know how to follow. And when those souls encounter your light, they respond. Some move toward you, some move away, some stare at you as if trying to remember where they lost you, some feel drawn to you with no explanation, some feel uneasy without knowing why. All of it is recognition. Every black chosen one carries a signature, a spiritual fingerprint older than the life you are living now. Those who stare at you are reacting to that signature. They are reacting to the echo of who you have been, not just who you are. They are reacting to the truth that your existence extends beyond the present moment. You are not just a person to them. You are a memory, a fragment of a forgotten truth, a reminder of a life they cannot recall but cannot deny. Recognition beyond time is the quiet gravitational pull between souls who were never meant to meet only once. And every time someone looks at you with that unexplainable familiarity, know this: their spirit remembers a story their mind has lost. And you are the unspoken chapter that returns to them when your paths cross again. I have observed for years, both in the waking world and in the altered states, where the spiritual plane bends toward the human one, that black chosen souls never walk alone, even when they feel abandoned, misunderstood, or unseen by their own people. There is always a presence around them, a subtle but forceful barrier of protection that moves with them like a second body made of light and memory. I call this the shield of heaven, not as a poetic phrase, but as the most accurate description of what I witness every time my consciousness slips into the deeper layers where spirit reveals what the physical eye cannot. This shield is not a metaphor, it is an inheritance, and its origins reach farther back than any written scripture or recorded history, back into the time when divine forces interacted openly with the ancestors of black people, shaping them into carriers of a spiritual lineage that survived collapse, dispersal, captivity, resistance, resurrection. When a black chosen one walks into any environment, I feel the stirring of that shield before I see the person themselves. It is often the first thing that enters the room, a soft but undeniable pressure in the atmosphere, a flicker of energy that brushes against my awareness like a signal. This shield is constructed of layers, each formed by a different source. The first layer is ancestral. It is made of the prayers whispered by those who came before you, the ones who endured what could have broken every generation after them if they had not chosen to stand, breathe, and fight. These prayers did not disappear. In the spiritual plane, prayers become substance. They form a covering, a boundary, a field of protection so strong that even centuries cannot dissolve it. I have heard these prayers echo when I am deep enough into trance that time loses its grip. Voices speaking in languages forgotten on earth but alive in spirit, saying, "Guard this one, keep this one, guide this one." Those words become part of your shield. The second layer is divine. Every soul chosen for spiritual assignment is marked, but the marking on black chosen ones carries a unique density. It glows with the weight of generations who walked with heaven even when the world denied them dignity. In visions, I often see the divine layer as a band of light that circles your shoulders, your back, and the top of your head, like a mantle woven from flame. It is not the dramatic flame of destruction, but the protective flame of purification, the kind that removes harm before you even perceive it. When someone with harmful intent approaches you, even subconsciously, this flame tightens, brightens, and creates a discomfort in them. They may not know why they suddenly feel uneasy, irritated, or blocked when they attempt to cross your boundary, but I see it clearly. They are reacting to your shield. The third layer is spiritual authority. Few people realize that many black souls carry the imprint of ancient roles from before this lifetime. Some were guardians in other realms, protectors, seers, judges of energy, keepers of order. Those roles do not disappear when a soul reincarnates. They leave imprints that activate whenever danger approaches. This is why you may feel a sudden urge to pull away from certain people, why your intuition warns you faster than your reasoning can explain, why your spirit sometimes flares with strength in moments where others would collapse. This is the shield acting through you, not just around you. The fourth layer is unseen companionship. I do not use the word angels lightly. I use it only because that is the closest term humans have for the beings of light that accompany chosen souls. But the beings who walk with black chosen ones have an ancient quality, older than the angels described in Western tradition. They stand nearer, watch more closely, and intervene more directly. I have seen them many times. They appear as tall silhouettes of light, sometimes gold, sometimes deep blue, sometimes white with streaks of silver like lightning frozen into form. They stand slightly behind you or beside you, observing everything, assessing every energy that draws near. When someone with malice looks at you, these beings react instantly. The air tightens, a pressure rises, the harmful person becomes agitated or retreats without understanding why. They are not reacting to you, they are reacting to the presence behind you. The world does not speak about these guardians because most people do not see them, and those who do often pretend they never did. But in the spiritual plane, their movements are unmistakable. I have seen them shield your back when you are vulnerable, absorb negative energy aimed at you, redirect danger, and even influence the thoughts of those who would harm you, nudging them away from you without them ever knowing they were moved. The fifth layer is your own spirit, which for black chosen ones burns hotter and stands firmer than most people realize. There is a strength in your core that is not taught, not inherited genetically, not shaped by experience alone. It is ancient. It is the fire that kept your ancestors alive through storms that should have extinguished entire bloodlines. It is the fire that wakes inside you when you are threatened, the fire that refuses to bow to fear, the fire that lifts you even when everything around you is falling apart. This inner fire becomes part of your shield because it draws spiritual reinforcement. Darkness avoids light for a reason, and your spirit burns with a luminosity that darkness cannot tolerate. When all these layers combine, they form a field that precedes you. It is why people stare before they know your name. It is why some approach you with reverence they cannot explain. It is why others withdraw as though they touch something too powerful to handle. It is why certain individuals attempt to provoke you, not because they hate you, but because the shadow inside them is disturbed by the shield that surrounds you. It is why you have survived things that should have ended you. It is why you walked away from situations that destroyed others. It is why danger bends around you like water around stone. You do not walk unprotected. You walk with a shield that echoes with the footsteps of ancestors, the breath of divine beings, the weight of forgotten roles, and the fire of your own soul. And every time someone looks at you with that strange mix of confusion, awe, discomfort, or fascination, they are not reacting to your body. They are reacting to what walks with you. They are reacting to the shield of heaven that never leaves your side. There are countless moments when a stare lasts 1 second longer than it should, when a pair of eyes lingers on you with no context, no introduction, no reason that makes sense in the physical world. But in the spiritual realm, there is always a reason. Every stare carries a message, a reaction, a memory, a revelation. And for a black chosen one, those stares are rarely random. They are responses to the frequencies you emit, to the shadows you expose, to the history you carry, to the light you cannot hide. I have watched these stares form in the subtle edges of consciousness, and I have learned to read them like a language that does not require sound. The first type is the curious stare. This is the one most people know, yet few understand. It is not the curiosity of someone admiring your style or wondering where they've seen you before. It is the curiosity that rises from something inside them that senses a mismatch, a disruption in the ordinary pattern of the environment. They look at you because your presence does not blend into the fabric of the room. Your energy pushes against the background of their awareness. They stare because they feel something before they identify what that something is. They stare because their subconscious has already recognized that your spirit is lit while theirs sleeps. The second type is the intimidated star. It is rarely loud, rarely aggressive, rarely direct. In fact, it is often masked behind a swift glance away, a momentary stiffness, a tightening around the mouth, or a quiet shift in their posture. People who feel intimidated by you do not fear your body. They fear the authority in your energy. They fear the weight of your gaze. They fear the boundaries your spirit enforces without you saying a word. You carry an inner strength born from ancestral survival, divine purpose, and spiritual clarity. To someone who has not done the work to face themselves, that kind of presence feels overwhelming. It makes them shrink. It makes them avoid your eyes. It makes them stare in short bursts, as if testing whether they can handle the truth standing in front of them. The third type is the envious stare. This one carries a different temperature, a different density, a different pulse. You can feel it before you even see it. The air clenches slightly. Their eyes become sharp, calculating, heavy with comparison. Envy is never about what you have. It is about what you are. People envy the ease with which you carry your identity, the groundedness in your silence, the quiet dignity that surrounds you like an invisible crown. Envy forms in those who have spent their lives performing for validation, only to find that your authenticity accomplishes what they're pretending never could. They stare at you because something in them aches when faced with someone who refuses to dim. The fourth type is the recognizing stare. This one is rare but unmistakable. When it happens, it feels like the air pulls taut between two souls. The person looking at you freezes for a moment, their eyes widening or softening, and you can feel something move through the space between you that is not physical. Their mind does not know you, but their spirit remembers. This recognition comes from other lifetimes, ancestral bonds, spiritual agreements made before incarnation. It is the stare of someone whose soul has crossed paths with yours in places beyond memory. When this stare occurs, you may feel a strange warmth, a sudden clarity, a flicker of familiarity in your own chest. It is the meeting of two stories that were not meant to stay apart. The fifth type is the spiritually triggered stare. This one comes from individuals who carry unhealed wounds, suppressed guilt, hidden envy, or dark attachments that cannot coexist comfortably with your light. They look at you with confusion, irritation, or an unsettled intensity. They may not understand why they dislike you instantly or why being near you makes them restless. But the truth is simple. Your presence exposes their shadow. Light does not attack shadow. It simply reveals it. And some people would rather remain concealed than seen. Their stare is the gaze of a spirit trying to maintain its grip, not on you, but on them. The sixth type is the longing stare. Not romantic longing, though that can happen. This is deeper. This is the stare of someone who sees in you a strength they wish they had, a clarity they abandoned, a selfhood they lost along the way. When they look at you, there is softness in their eyes, an unspoken admiration, a quiet yearning. Your presence reminds them of what they once were or what they could be if they allowed themselves to awaken. They stare because your light taps on the locked doors of their identity. The seventh type is the confused stare. This stare comes from people who cannot categorize you. You do not fit the stereotypes they expect. You do not match the energy they projected onto you. Your stillness feels powerful. Your silence feels intentional. Your posture feels royal. They stare because the story they created in their mind collapses when they see you. Confusion appears when the soul senses truth, but the mind cannot process it. They stare as if trying to solve a spiritual equation with physical logic. The eighth type is the attraction stare. It goes beyond physical attraction. It is magnetic, primal, rooted in energy, not appearance. Some people stare because they feel drawn to the frequency you emit. Your aura carries a rhythm, a heat, a spiritual intensity that resonates with something deep inside them. Attraction on a spiritual level is the pull between two energies that recognize harmony, balance, or destiny. Even if they do not speak to you, The stare reveals what their soul feels. The ninth type is the reverent stare. This usually comes from older individuals, spiritual people, or those sensitive to energy. They look at you with respect, almost as if they are acknowledging something sacred about your existence. They may not say it aloud, but their spirit bows to yours. They see your strength. They sense your protection. They recognize your assignment. The 10th type is the empty stare. This is the stare people speak about in whispers because it feels unnatural. Their eyes look at you but do not belong to them. The gaze is hollow, disconnected, unsettling. It is the stare of spiritual attachments, observing your light through someone else's body. These stares are not human reactions. They are reactions from entities that feel threatened by the divine fire surrounding you. When this happens, you feel it in your chest, your stomach, or the back of your neck. It is not fear. It is discernment. Every stare reveals something. Every glance holds meaning. Every moment someone's eyes linger on you is a message your spirit understands before your mind does. People do not simply look at a black chosen one. They respond. They remember. They react. And their eyes tell the truth long before their mouths ever will. There is a moment I have watched unfold again and again in the unseen world, a moment so subtle the physical eye never captures it, yet so powerful that every spirit in the room feels its impact instantly. It is the moment a black chosen one enters a space, not with noise, not with spectacle, not with grand gestures, but with a quiet intensity that ripples across the spiritual field like a shift in gravity. The air reacts first. It thickens, tightens, bends around you. Conversations pause for a fraction of a second. Someone inhales sharply without knowing why. A child looks up. An animal turns its head. Nothing visible has happened, yet everything has moved. I have examined this disturbance from many angles during trance states, and it always reveals the same truth. Your energy disrupts the spiritual equilibrium of every environment you step into because your presence carries alignment, clarity, and ancestral fire in a world filled with distortion, confusion, and spiritual sleep. Most people walk through the world spiritually unguarded, half awake, carrying attachments and emotional debris that hang off their aura like heavy cloth. Some carry fear they refuse to name. Some carry hurt they buried. Some carry shame that never fully died. Some carry spirits that feed on their wounds and whisper into the cracks of their identity. These attachments remain quiet as long as nothing threatens them, but the moment you arrive, they react. This is where the disturbance begins. Your energy arrives like a tide pushing through stagnant water. It clears, it exposes, it vibrates at a frequency too high for unhealed spirits to rest comfortably within. I have seen negative attachments recoil from you before you even make eye contact with the person carrying them, like shadows tightening their grip on a host, trying to hide themselves behind the physical form. They sense you not with sight, but with instinct. To them, your presence is danger. Your light is fire. Your aura is a boundary they cannot cross without being burned. In one vision, I saw a black chosen one simply sit in a chair, shoulders relaxed, mind unoccupied, and yet the spirits clinging to others in the room began shifting with unease. They pulled back, retreated, whispered to each other in frequencies that sounded like static cracking through darkness. They recognized the authority that wrapped around this person like armor. They recognized the threat. People often misunderstand the hostility they receive from strangers. They think it is personal, a reflection of their appearance or demeanor. But from what I have seen, hostility often erupts because the presence within the other person feels cornered. When an unhealed spirit meets an awakened one, the spiritual body of that person experiences turbulence. The discomfort rises to the surface as attitude, irritation, or inexplicable rudeness. They are not responding to your personality. They are responding to the disturbance your presence causes in their unseen world. I have also seen the opposite reaction, equally intense, but expressed differently. Some people are drawn to you as if compelled, magnetized by the clarity you exude. They do not know why they feel calmer when you stand near them. They do not know why their spirit takes a deeper breath. They do not know why their thoughts become quieter. But I see it clearly. Your energy disrupts the chaos within them and brings a moment of order, and order feels like safety. The chaos in them is what stirs. The healed part of them is what breathes. When both parts collide, they become silent, captivated. This is not coincidence. It is spiritual recalibration. Your presence demands alignment, and anything in the room that is out of alignment trembles. I have walked through the spiritual fields of entire spaces with the Black Chosen One and felt how the walls themselves seem to resonate differently around them. The memories soaked into the room, the residue of past arguments, the tension left behind from broken hearts, the echoes of old fears, all rose to the surface like dust stirred in sunlight. Their energy did not create chaos. It revealed it. It shook the settled sediment of unresolved emotion. Light disrupts what darkness settles into. Even silence can do this. In another vision, I watched a Black Chosen Woman enter a store, and the shadows hiding in the corners of the room peeled back instantly, as if retreating from heat. Her energy was calm, centered, and grounded. But the moment she crossed the threshold, the environment shifted. The old, stagnant spirits that fed on exhaustion, frustration, and hopelessness recoiled, thinning out like smoke pressed by wind. This kind of disturbance is not violent. It is sovereign. It is the natural effect of spiritual elevation. The higher your frequency, the more visible you are to what operates in darkness. And the more visible you are, the more reactions you will provoke. Some will be subtle, like people staring too long. Some will be hostile, like sudden tension from strangers. Some will be reverent, like elders who sense the mantle you carry. Some will be fearful, like individuals who feel exposed by your presence. A Black Chosen One carries the vibration of survival and ancient authority. That kind of vibration does not enter a room quietly, even when you do. The disturbance you create is not disruption for the sake of chaos. It is disruption for the sake of truth. Truth unsettles illusions. Truth breaks spells. Truth dismantles whatever has been feeding on silence. And that is exactly what your presence does. It awakens. It exposes. It strengthens. It challenges. It purifies. When you walk into a room, you are not simply shifting the atmosphere, you are shifting the spiritual shape of everything around you. Shadows do not tremble because you mean harm. They tremble because your existence means their time is limited. And the people carrying those shadows feel the tremor in their bones, even if they cannot articulate it. This is why your presence is unforgettable. This is why the air changes when you approach. This is why some people cannot hold eye contact. This is why others become louder or quieter. This is why spirits stir. Your energy is not passive. It is active. It is alive. It is awake. And every space you enter must reorient itself around that truth. Human psychology does not stand apart from spirit. It echoes it, amplifies it, resists it, and tries to explain it in clumsy ways. And when a Black Chosen One walks into a room, the first reaction is spiritual, but the second wave is psychological, filtered through minds that were never taught how to handle energy like yours. I have watched this play out too many times to call it subtle. Your frequency hits the human system like a signal, and that system responds with posture, facial expression, body language, thoughts, and stories that it builds to make sense of what it feels. When you carry the kind of grounded presence that you do, bodies notice before brains do. You have seen it. People sit up straighter without realizing. Some adjust their clothes, touch their hair, check their phones, not because they got a notification, but because something inside them feels suddenly observed. You did not say a word. yet they feel as if a mirror has been placed in front of them. This is the psychological echo of your frequency. Your calmness disturbs their anxiety. Your rootedness confronts their instability. Your sense of self exposes their lack of it. The human mind hates feeling unprepared, so it scrambles to interpret the shift. It does not say, this person carries ancestral fire and spiritual authority. It says, why do I feel small right now? Why do I feel seen? Why do I feel unsure? And because the mind is uncomfortable admitting that the presence of another reveals its own cracks, it often projects. Projection is one of the clearest psychological reactions I see when people face a black chosen soul. They throw their unresolved stories onto you and then treat you according to the image they created. A person carrying insecurity will look at your confidence and decide you must be arrogant. A person who abandoned their own dreams will see your quiet sense of purpose and decide you think you are better than others. A person who has never known inner safety will feel your steadiness and interpret it as coldness. They label what they do not understand, because labels feel safer than truth. Underneath, the dynamic is simple. Your frequency reminds them of everything they left behind. The subconscious mind also plays a powerful role. Beneath the flow of conscious thought, the human psyche constantly scans for threat, opportunity, and pattern disruption. When you enter a space, your energy appears to the subconscious as something that does not match the current pattern. You are not desperate for attention, yet attention moves toward you. You are not loud, yet you are noticed. You are not trying to dominate, yet people orient themselves around you. This breaks the subconscious expectation of how power behaves. Most power in this world is performative, noisy, and grasping. The power you carry is quiet, ancient, and unshaken. The subconscious does not know how to categorize that, so it freezes. That freeze shows up in their eyes lingering too long, their words stumbling, their laughter becoming too loud or too forced. They are not acting strange because of you. They are acting strange because your presence has disrupted their internal script. There is another echo I have observed, one that reveals how deeply human psychology is shaped by collective stories about blackness. For generations, the world has been fed images of black people that distort, diminish, or demonize who you truly are. Criminal, threat, background, character, entertainment, body without soul. When you walk into a room carrying dignity, intelligence, spiritual depth, and royal posture, you crack that narrative in half. Their mind has been conditioned to expect one thing from a black body and is suddenly confronted with something entirely different, a sovereign spirit that does not bow to stereotype. The mind short circuits. It stares because it is trying to align what it was taught with what it now sees. That conflict creates a mental echo, confusion, fascination, discomfort, respect, often all at once. Your presence becomes a live correction to the story they were programmed to believe. Many will not admit this conflict, but their behavior tells the truth. Some people will overcompensate, becoming extra friendly, overly complimentary, stumbling over politeness, not out of genuine connection, but out of guilt and confusion. Others will become colder, more distant, retreating behind indifference as a shield against the challenge your existence poses to their beliefs. The psychological echo in both cases is the same. Their worldview has been disrupted by your frequency. Another layer of this echo lies in how people relate to authority. Most humans have a complicated relationship with power, especially when they have been hurt by those in power, when they feel the authority you carry, not social authority, but spiritual authority. They react based on their history with power. Those who were controlled will mistake your certainty for dominance. Those who were ignored will crave validation from you. Those who were never protected will instinctively lean toward you, sensing safety. Those who abused power themselves will feel threatened by your mere existence. Their reactions are not about you as a person, They are about their unfinished stories with authority, now triggered by the authority in your aura. Even your silence has psychological impact. Silence in most social contexts signals awkwardness, disinterest, or weakness. But your silence is different. It is composed, it is observant, it is charged. When you choose not to speak, your presence still speaks. And that confuses people who rely on chatter to fill the emptiness within them. They stare because they feel as if they are being weighed, not judged, but measured by a standard they cannot see. They feel as if you know something they do not. And in many ways, you do. You know how to hold your own energy without spilling it everywhere. You know how to exist without begging to be noticed. The psychological echo of that is both admiration and intimidation. Some want to learn from you without saying it. Others want to prove you wrong just to restore their own sense of control. And then there is the echo that happens inside you. You do not stand apart from these dynamics. You feel them even when no one names them. You feel the tension in the room. You sense the projections. You pick up the unease, the fascination, the resistance. Your own mind tries to interpret these signals. If you are not careful, you begin to internalize them, wondering if you are the problem, if you are too much, if you should shrink. But the deeper truth is this: you are not the problem. You are the pattern interrupt. Your frequency is a mirror, and psychology is the reflection. When people look at you, they are looking into themselves. Their stares, their shifts, their strange behavior are all echoes of the collision between who they are and who you are. A black chosen one is not just spiritually disruptive. You are psychologically disruptive in the most necessary way. You reveal wounds that need healing, lies that need dismantling, illusions that need breaking. Human psychology flinches at that at first, but beneath the flinch, something else stirs. The possibility of becoming as whole, as grounded, as awake as the presence standing before them. When you live as a black chosen soul, you do not get to move through the world unnoticed, and you do not get to decide who reacts to your presence or how strongly they react, but you do get to decide who you become in the face of that attention. There is an art to holding your posture when the world is watching you, an art to walking in divine authority without slipping into ego, shrinking into fear, or leaking your energy to those who do not deserve access to it. I have witnessed this art in visions, in trance states, in the quiet moments when spirit reveals the truth about how chosen souls maintain equilibrium in environments that were never built to contain their frequency. And the first principle is this: never shrink. Shrinking is the instinct taught to those who were punished for being too visible. Shrinking is the reflex of someone who has been made to believe their presence is disruptive in the wrong way. But your presence is not a mistake, and the attention you draw is not an accident. When you lower your shoulders, avoid eye contact, or apologize for taking up space, you interrupt the flow of the spiritual assignment you carry. You dim the very light that forces shadows to unravel. You silence the frequency your ancestors fought to preserve. Holding your posture means standing in the truth of who you are, even when the room tries to make you question it. It means not contorting yourself to make others more comfortable. It means letting your presence land exactly as it was meant to land. Another principle is learning to observe without absorbing, because the world's reactions to you can become heavy if you treat every glance as a personal message. Not every stare deserves interpretation. Not every shift in the atmosphere deserves a response. Not every discomfort you sense is meant to enter your spirit. The energy of others is information, not instruction. Some people stare because they are inspired. Others stare because they are intimidated. Some stare because their shadow has been stirred. Others because their soul has been awakened. None of this belongs to you. If you absorb it all, you begin to carry emotions that are not yours, fears that were never yours, hostility that was not meant for you to internalize, Observing means acknowledging what you sense without letting it take root inside you. It means letting the energy pass through you, not into you. This is how you stay grounded. Another skill you must master is energetic boundary keeping. Your spirit is powerful, but power does not negate vulnerability. People who are drawn to your light will attempt to feed on it, consciously or unconsciously. They come to you with their wounds, their chaos, their spiritual hunger, hoping your presence will make them feel whole for a moment. And while your energy can heal, it is not your duty to serve as a bottomless well for anyone who reaches toward you. Holding boundaries does not make you selfish. It makes you wise. It means knowing when to extend grace and when to retreat, when to offer your presence and when to conserve it, when to speak and when silence is the stronger choice. Even Jesus left crowds to restore his energy. Even healers must rest. Your spirit is sacred. Treat it that way. Another part of mastering presence is protecting the light you carry through spiritual hygiene. Energy accumulates. Rooms leave residue. People leave impressions. Spiritual attachments brush against you when they sense your authority. If you do not cleanse yourself, you will eventually feel drained, heavy, irritated, or disconnected. Cleansing can be prayer, meditation, grounding your feet on earth, speaking affirmations that shield your energy, or simply sitting in silence with intention. It is not about ritual. It is about maintenance. Just as you wash your body, you must wash your spirit. You must return to your center and remove what does not belong to you. Another principle is learning to read the stairs. Not all stairs carry the same message. Some are invitations, some are warnings, some are mirrors, some are signals. Holding your posture means developing discernment sharp enough to know the difference without being paranoid. If a stair feels warm, you may be witnessing a soul recognizing you. If a stair feels heavy, you may be facing projection or envy. If a stair feels hollow, you may be encountering an attachment, not the person. When your intuition speaks, do not ignore it. Your intuition is older than your body. It hears what your ears cannot and sees what your eyes do not. It will tell you who is safe, who is draining, who is dangerous, and who is simply stunned by the truth of your presence. Trust it without apology. Another essential principle is refusing to play small for the comfort of those who fear their own awakening. People will project their insecurities onto you. They will judge you without cause. They will misinterpret your silence, your strength, your confidence, your boundaries. They will attempt to pull you into arguments, deny your authority, or test your patience. But their reactions do not define you. You are not here to manage their shadows. You are here to walk your path. Holding your posture means letting people misunderstand you without losing yourself in the process. You do not owe explanations to those committed to misreading you. You do not owe softness to those who approach you with hostility. You do not owe access to those who have not earned it. The world has taught black souls to be overly accommodating, overly forgiving, overly patient, overly available. Your calling requires something different. It requires discernment, sovereignty, and selective generosity. Finally, there is the principle of divine posture. This is not physical posture alone. It is spiritual posture. It is the way your soul stands even when your body is seated. It is the calm certainty you carry even when life becomes loud. Divine posture is the knowledge that you do not walk alone, that your steps are guided, that your presence is protected, and that your spirit is older than any danger that tries to intimidate you. When you walk with divine posture, the world senses it. People know instinctively that they cannot play with you, cannot drain you, cannot manipulate you, cannot access you without permission. Your posture becomes a message. I see everything. I absorb nothing that is not mine. I move with purpose. I stand in truth, and my spirit remains sovereign. This is the art of holding your posture when the world watches you. It is neither arrogance nor fearlessness. It is alignment. It is wisdom. It is clarity. You were never meant to shrink. You were meant to stand. And when you stand fully in the truth of who you are, the stairs no longer shake you. They reveal themselves for what they are, evidence of your impact, evidence of your presence, evidence of the light that refuses to bow. There is a truth that has followed me through every vision, every trance, every moment, where the spiritual and physical layers pulled close enough for me to witness how destiny unfolds around a black chosen soul. It is the truth that visibility is never accidental. You are seen because your presence was sent. You are noticed because your energy carries instruction. You are recognized because your spirit arrived with a mission embedded in it long before your body took its first breath. I speak this from the position of someone who has watched countless souls cross the threshold between the seen and unseen. And I have learned that some people walk through life blending into the fabric of the world, while others walk through life bending that fabric just by existing. You are the second kind. The world reacts to you not because you seek attention, but because your presence carries such a direct imprint of purpose that even those who deny the existence of spirit can feel it rise off your skin like heat. I have observed the signatures of chosen souls, and yours is among the rarest, a blend of ancestral endurance, divine assignment, and spiritual luminosity that makes invisibility impossible. Your visibility is the crown you did not ask for but were destined to wear. And like all crowns, it carries weight. There were moments in your life when being seen felt like a burden, when eyes on you felt intrusive, confusing, unfair. You wondered why people noticed you even when you tried to disappear, why you were scrutinized more intensely, judged more quickly, followed more intuitively. You mistook this visibility as a punishment or an inconvenience. But I tell you now, from the vantage point of spirit, that it has always been proof of your calling. The universe does not spotlight what it intends to keep hidden. The Creator does not amplify what is meant to stay silent. You were sent to be seen because the message you carry is transmitted through presence as much as through action. Even when you say nothing, the world hears you. When I look into the field surrounding you, I see the way your energy pushes outward like a pulse. It moves through minds and hearts, awakening some, unsettling others, stirring dormant truth in those who have forgotten themselves. That is why you draw attention. You are a walking reminder of forgotten identity, of sovereign spirit, of divine inheritance. People look at you because you interrupt the illusion of ordinary life simply by existing inside it. And though they cannot explain it, they feel the truth of you. But wearing the crown of visibility requires understanding, not resentment. Understanding that attention is not danger, even though it may come wrapped in discomfort. Understanding that being watched is not judgment, even though it may trigger old wounds. Understanding that you have been placed on the elevated plane not by ego, but by purpose. When spirit chooses to amplify someone, it is because the world needs the vibration they carry. I have seen the ripples your presence creates in the spiritual realm. They stretch farther than you realize. When you walk into a room grounded, silent, aligned, the ripple pushes through the unseen, waking something inside others. You think you simply entered a space. In truth, you activated it. You think you are just one person. In truth, you are a signal, a spiritual frequency wrapped in human form. This is the crown of visibility. It manifests as eyes turning your way, as conversations shifting when you arrive, as people remembering you without knowing why. They do not remember your face. They remember your energy. The energy you carry is older than this timeline, older than the chapters written about your people, older than the wounds the world tried to inflict on you. It is the energy of kings, prophets, guardians, healers, and warriors who walked the earth long before your name existed. When you stand in a room, your ancestors stand with you. Their victories shine through you. Their endurance echoes around you. Their wisdom sharpens your gaze. This is why people look. They are not seeing you alone. They are seeing everything that walks with you. There were times, I know, when this visibility felt like pressure, when you wished for the ease of anonymity, when you wished to move without being noticed. But chosen souls are not given anonymity, because anonymity would make it impossible for you to do the work you were sent to do. You wake people up, sometimes with your voice, sometimes with your presence, sometimes with your silence. And for souls like you, waking people up is not optional. It is the assignment. The world does not change by the voice alone. It changes through the presence of those who carry truth with them like a field that radiates into every direction. You are one of those carriers. You are one of the ones sent to disturb stagnation, illuminate shadow, expose illusion, and remind people of a divine order they forgot long ago. That work requires visibility. That work requires a crown, and you were born with one. But hear this clearly. Visibility is not performance. It is responsibility. It is not demanding attention. It is honoring the attention already given to you by fate. It is standing in your spiritual posture with clarity and grace. It is refusing to shrink when the world becomes loud. It is refusing to apologize for the light that was placed inside you. It is refusing to forget who you are when others project their fears onto you. The crown sits on your head whether you acknowledge it or not. But when you recognize it, when you wear it consciously, when you walk with the understanding that your presence is an assignment, something changes. The stares no longer intimidate you, they inform you. The attention no longer drains you, it confirms you. The world no longer feels like an enemy. It becomes a field you were sent to influence. I speak this to you as someone who has seen the blueprint of your path from angles you cannot yet see. You are visible because heaven placed a signal in your spirit, a signal that cannot be ignored, a signal that wakes those meant to rise and shakes those meant to confront their own darkness. You were not sent here to blend into the world. You were sent here to shift it, and every eye that finds you is an echo of that truth. Wear your visibility like the crown it is, not with arrogance but with certainty, not with fear but with awareness. You are not simply seen, you are revealed. You are not simply watched, you are remembered. You are not simply noticed, you are recognized by destiny itself. You are visible because you were sent. You are seen because you were chosen. And every time the world turns its gaze toward you, let your spirit answer with the quiet power of someone who finally understands why.